The Galactic Council had existed for 12,000 years. In that time, they had mapped billions of star systems. They had cataloged millions of intelligent species. They had built empires that stretched across the spiral arms of the galaxy. But there was one rule that every species followed without question: stay away from black holes. The void, as they called it, was death itself. It was the place where light could not escape. It was the place where time bent and broke. It was the place where matter was crushed into nothing. Every species in the galaxy had learned this lesson. Some had learned it through observation. Others had learned it through the loss of entire fleets. The message was always the same: the void was forbidden. Ambassador of the Empire stood before the great viewing window of the Council station. His gray skin reflected the distant starlight as he watched the new arrivals dock their ship. The humans had only joined the galactic community 50 years ago. They were young, they were curious, and they were absolutely insane. The human delegation walked into the council chamber with confident steps. Their leader was a woman named Captain Sarah. She had short dark hair and eyes that seemed to hold no fear. Had met humans before. He had never understood them. They walked into danger like other species walked into their homes. "Ambassador," Sarah said with a small bow, "thank you for meeting with us on such short notice." Made the traditional greeting gesture of his people. "The Council is always interested in human activities, Captain. Your species has a habit of surprising us." Sarah smiled. It was a strange expression that humans made when they were pleased. "We have a proposal for the Council, something that will change everything." The council chamber filled with representatives from 100 different species. There were the tall, thin with their silver eyes. There were the massive with their 4 arms and thick armor plates. There were the floating whispers, beings made of pure energy that communicated through light pulses. All of them had come to hear what the humans had to say. High Counselor, the oldest of the, raised one slender hand. The chamber fell silent. "Captain, you have requested this gathering. Please explain your purpose." Sarah stepped forward. Behind her, a holographic display came to life. It showed a swirling mass of darkness surrounded by a ring of fire. The image alone made several council members uncomfortable. It was a black hole, the forbidden void. "For centuries, our species has avoided black holes," Sarah began. "We have treated them as death zones, as places of destruction, but we were wrong." Whispers of shock moved through the chamber, felt his heart's beating faster. What were these humans planning? Sarah continued. 3 years ago, humanity began a secret project. We sent probes into the event horizon of a stellar mass black hole. We expected to lose them immediately. We did not. The holographic display changed. It showed data streams. It showed images that should have been impossible. Inside the event horizon, the probes had survived. They had sent back information before finally being crushed. "We discovered something incredible," Sarah said. "Inside a black hole, there is a region where the gravitational forces balance out, a zone where matter can exist in stability. We call it the equilibrium shell." High Counselor leaned forward. His silver eyes were wide. "You are saying there is a habitable zone inside a black hole?" "Not just habitable," Sarah replied. "Perfect. The equilibrium shell is protected from cosmic radiation. It is isolated from external threats. Time moves differently there. 1 year inside equals 10 years outside, and the energy available from the black hole itself is unlimited." The chamber erupted in chaos. Species that had spent fearing the void were now being told it could be a home. Watched as the human captain stood calmly in the center of the storm. She did not look worried. She looked proud. "This is impossible," shouted a representative. "No species can survive inside a black hole. The tidal forces alone would tear any structure apart." Sarah nodded. "You are right. For normal materials, survival is impossible, but humanity has developed something new." She pressed a button on her wrist device. The holographic display changed again. It showed a strange crystalline structure that seemed to bend light around itself. We call it void steel. It is a material that exists in quantum superposition. It can withstand the gravitational forces inside a black hole by essentially existing in multiple states at once. Stepped forward. He could not believe what he was hearing. Captain, are you saying that humanity has already built something inside a black hole? Sarah turned to face him. Her smile grew wider. Ambassador, I am saying that humanity has built a city inside a black hole, and we are inviting the Galactic Council to visit. The journey to the black hole took 3 weeks. A delegation of 50 representatives from different species traveled aboard the human vessel called the Prometheus. Had insisted on being part of the group. He needed to see this with his own eyes. As they approached the black hole, fear spread through the ship. The delegates refused to leave their quarters. The warriors, famous for their bravery, grew quiet and nervous. Even the whispers dimmed their light in uncertainty. Only the humans seemed unaffected. They went about their duties with calm efficiency. Captain invited to the bridge as they made their final approach. Through the viewing window, he could see the black hole. It was the most terrifying thing he had ever witnessed. A sphere of absolute darkness surrounded by a swirling disk of superheated matter. Light itself bent around it, creating a halo of distortion. "Are you not afraid?" asked the captain. Sarah considered the question. Fear is natural, ambassador, but humans have learned that fear is not a good reason to avoid something. We were afraid of fire. We learned to use it. We were afraid of the ocean. We learned to sail it. We were afraid of space. We learned to explore it. The void is just another frontier. The ship entered a carefully calculated trajectory. Felt his stomach drop as gravity shifted around them. The laws of physics seemed to bend and twist. Through the window, he watched as the universe outside stretched and distorted. Colors shifted. Stars became long lines of light. Then everything went dark. Thought they had died. He thought the void had claimed them as it had claimed so many others. But then light returned, and what he saw made him forget every fear he had ever known. Inside the black hole there was a city. It hung in the darkness like a jewel suspended in nothing. Towers of crystal and metal rose from platforms that gravity. Lights sparkled across its surface like a constellation brought to life. Ships moved between structures, carrying people and cargo. It was impossible. It was beautiful. It was human. "Welcome to New Horizon," Captain said. "Population 200,000 and growing." The delegation spent 3 days exploring the city, walked through streets filled with humans and their children. He visited laboratories where scientists studied the unique physics of their environment. He saw farms that grew food using the energy harvested from the black hole itself. He met engineers who were already planning expansion. On the second day, met an old human man in a park. The park had trees and grass and a small pond with fish. It looked like something from Earth, transported into the heart of darkness. "You look confused, Ambassador," the old man said. Sat beside him on a bench. "I am trying to understand why. Why would your species do this? Why risk so much to live in such a dangerous place?" The old man laughed. It was a warm sound. "Because we could not stand being afraid anymore. For all of human history, we have looked at things that scared us and asked one question. What if we tried anyway? Sometimes we failed. Sometimes we died. But sometimes we discovered something wonderful." "But the void," said. "Every species in the galaxy fears it. It is the one place no one will go." The old man nodded. "And that is exactly why we went there. Humans are not special because we are brave. We are not special because we are smart. We are special because we refuse to accept limits. When someone tells us something is impossible, we take it as a challenge." Thought about this for a long time. He thought about his own species and their long history of caution. He thought about all the opportunities they had missed because they were too afraid to try. He looked at the city around him, this impossible monument to human stubbornness, and he felt something he had not felt in centuries. Hope. On the final day, Captain addressed the delegation in the central plaza. Behind her, the curved walls of the city rose into the strange sky. Outside those walls was the crushing gravity of a black hole. Inside was life. The Galactic Council has spent 12,000 years avoiding the void, Sarah said. In that time, the void has grown. Black holes merge and expand. Eventually, they will consume everything, every star, every planet, every civilization. This is the fate of the universe. She paused to let her words sink in. The representatives shifted uncomfortably. This was something no species wanted to discuss, the eventual end of all things. But what if we changed that fate? Sarah continued. What if instead of fearing the void, we conquered it? What if we built cities in every black hole? What if we harvested their energy? What if we turned our greatest fear into our greatest resource? High Counselor stepped forward. His silver eyes glistened with emotion. You are proposing that the entire galaxy follow humanity into the void. Sarah nodded. I am proposing that we stop running from the darkness and start making it our home. Humanity will share the secrets of void steel. We will share our technology. We will teach anyone who wants to learn, but we will not do this alone. The void is big enough for everyone. The vote was held 1 week later. For the first time in galactic history, the Council voted to explore black holes. Human engineers began training programs for other species. Void steel factories opened on a dozen worlds. Within a decade, the first non-human colony was established inside a black hole. Within a century, there were thousands. Ambassador lived long enough to see his own people build a city in the void. He stood on a platform much like the one he had visited in New Horizon, watching children play in a park surrounded by impossible darkness. He thought about the human captain who had changed everything. He thought about her courage and her madness and her refusal to accept fear. The universe was still dying. Black holes were still growing. But now, instead of running from the end, the species of the galaxy were building homes inside it. They were turning death into life. They were turning fear into hope. And it had all started because one small species from a small planet had looked at the most terrifying thing in the universe and asked a simple question. What if we tried anyway? That was the gift humanity gave to the galaxy. Not technology, not resources, not knowledge. They gave everyone the courage to face the void. And in the end, that made all the difference.